Hi, everybody. Becky Freemal and Lynda McNutt Foster. We are back to talk to you about a book, Lynda, that you authored, which of course is called Time Mastery, 7 Simple Steps. You know this, but a lot of other people don't. First of all, welcome back. I'm glad you're here to talk to us again.
Well, it's always fun. I love ValleyStar.
So do we. Stop. But something that will help ValleyStar even get better is mastering our time. We have quite a few members on our team, and everyone's dealing with a disruption right now, whether they're working from home or in the office. There's a lot of balls in the air. So time mastery is a key thing. And I know that this book you authored, you spent thousands of hours on it. You spoke to more than 1,000 executives. You know, this is 5 years of work for your lifetime and everything you put into it. Why was it so important? What was it that you found that made you think, you know what, this book is needed. I need to get this information out.
Well, it's interesting when you are an entrepreneur. So for many years, I was an entrepreneur or I was paid on commission. And so the more time I spent on something, the less profit that I made. So, and you're out of business, or the project is dead, or the sale isn't made. So time is your biggest resource when you're in those type of positions. And also I realized as I was working with leaders and their teams, I mean, it was the one constant that held people accountable. And it was the one big difference when I was working and coaching successful people that they did with their time that other people didn't. Like, for instance, leaders almost in general, I'm trying to think if I have a client or ever had a client that didn't get up early. They love to get up at 5 a.m. and get their day started, and they feel like they extended their day because they get to work out, read things, meditate, pray, whatever that is, and then they get into the office early, even if you don't see them, and they start working before the onslaught from 9 to 5. So everybody else starts at 9 and kind of gets in and gets their coffee. Not most leaders, and I can tell you, I know a lot of rich people who have made a lot of money, and you don't make your money from 9 to 5, you make your money from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning.
So 9 to 5, 5 to 9. So let's talk about the challenges. Why aren't we optimizing our time? What are the issues that you're finding?
So this is when we surveyed, this is what people said. They failed, they're not optimizing their time, we found, because they don't do a to-do list. They're not setting job and personal desired outcomes, not prioritizing. And so if you don't know your desired outcome, hard to prioritize.
Yep.
Yes. They failing to manage distractions. So they're very reactionary. We can be very reactionary in our time and let people pull us away. Happens to me, and I even wrote the book on it. So it's very, you have to be very intentional. What I would say about this time in history is really, for the first time, each one of us has to be intentional with our time, with our interactions, because you're not just going to bump into somebody. You can't just run down the hall and ask somebody. You're not going to have these unstructured meetings that occur. So procrastinating is a big one, taking on too much. So not saying no, but it's not just as easy as saying no. It's about being intentional about what to say yes to. And then some people just love adrenaline, so they have an addiction to busyness. They think the busier they are, the more value that they're bringing. And that's one of the biggest mindsets that I have to coach out of people. And then multitasking, it's a myth. You cannot multitask. Your brain gets very good at switching from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. But what the study showed was that it takes you 50% longer to do two things at one time than it does just to focus on one thing and then focus on the next thing.
Yeah, you're right. I think people do think that. They're like, oh, I'm multitasking. I can do all these things. Look at all the balls in the air. And you're like, no, just pick one and focus on that. Okay, so 7 simple steps. If you want to maybe run through them, that'd be awesome. And my question would be, if we master these 7 steps, will we become gurus of our own time?
That's right. So what I would say is step 1 is always the most important. And it's actually at the key of almost all of the work that we do with leaders at Cortex, which is start with your richest outcomes. What are the most important things that you're actually trying to manage your time to? People get that wrong 90% of the time. Only 6% of people from our assessments are very good at doing that and designing that. So an easy way for an average person to do that is, what does right look like? What is right going to look like 5 years from now? What are you going to have? What are you going to be doing differently? And how do you think that's going to make you feel? And I'm going to tell you what, everything else is easy after you lock and load that. If you do not start out with that in regard to anything that you're doing, you're not going to get where you want to go, or you're going to hit a goal, but you're going to get on the top of the mountain and go, oh, I don't like that. I don't even like this state. I don't even like this mountain. This sure isn't satisfying. So I'll run through a few of the others. The rest of them very quickly is setting non-negotiables. So once you have in place what your desired outcome is, what is your non-negotiable? We'll talk about time metabolism in the next session. Map and measure your time. Everybody hates that. Delegate and eliminate to procrastinate, so you won't procrastinate, and operate in sprints. And you know what? Schedule time for rest and rejuvenation.
So important. And I think this is a very interesting question you ask, and a good one to leave everybody with, because we are going to touch base with you again next week to really dig into some of those steps. But this question catches my eye. If you had 1 more hour each day, what would you do with it? I think it's a good question to leave people on. And if you could just follow up with why it's important to know that.
Yeah, again, it's everybody thinks we don't have enough of it. So when you're suddenly given more of it, what are you doing with it?
Right. Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lynda. We will talk to you again so we can really delve into some of those other steps. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, absolutely.